Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today is a really simple page in my small craft journal, just playing with some paint pens. So this page is inspired by an Instagram artist called Marie Coda. I will put her Instagram link in my description box below, but she does a lot of overdrawing of vintage photos and magazines and adding lots of detail and texture to them just using paint pens, and I really love how the end result looks. It's super easy. It's a really great thing to do when you really don't want to think about all that much and you just want to have a bit of a play. You use minimal products to do it. I'm just using my paint pens. You could use any sort of pens. You could use Sharpies, whatever you want. I just like this because the paint pens obviously are that little bit more opaque, so they blend everything in together. It's also a really great technique to use on scrapbook pages. I know I've done a scrapbook page of my husband and I with our wedding photo, doing something similar to this, and it was a really great way to frame around my picture when I was finished. Now the only thing you do need to be aware of is paint pens do stay wet for a little while, so you can see me turning my book so I don't put my hand in the wet paint pen. I did smear a few things because I didn't quite work that out to begin with, so your heat gun may be your friend, or just being patient and letting it dry between each of the colours. All I'm doing is little dashed lines. I've chosen to use the colours of the rainbow, and I'm just doing 2 lines of each, so you can do as many or as few colours as you wanted to. And you can see that I didn't cut out my image to begin with. I'm just drawing over the top of it, but because you've got that similar pattern going throughout it, it really does blend it into the background, so you sort of forget that those edges of the photo are there. Now if you didn't have a vintage photo like I started out with, you can use those Tim Holtz Ideology portrait ones, or a modern photo, a picture from a magazine. It really doesn't matter. It's sort of just the technique as you go along. So it's super simple. It's just drawing pattern around it. Because I really had fun doing this, and because I had my paint pens out, I decided I wanted to add a little bit of extra detail to my character that I had on my page. So I'm firstly going around like I do with my magazine collages and outlining sort of the important details of his clothing, his face and so on with my black paint pen. And once I did that, I thought, I'm going to add a little bit more colour to him. So as I am going, I am sort of drying because I don't want to smudge my work, and I'm just adding in a few more rainbows onto his clothing. So I was in a fairly rainbow mood when I was doing this. I'd been watching a lot of Claire Stead's work, art journal love on Instagram and YouTube, and Claire does beautiful rainbow backgrounds and uses rainbows lots, and I was just in a bit of a rainbow mood, but I didn't want to get all my paints out, so this sort of satisfied that void without actually having to get all my paints out. So once I did his bow tie, I really liked that, and then I decided I'd do his lapel as well. So again, just doing the same thing, using my paint pens to create different lines and different textures on his jacket. So you can put as much or as little detail onto this as possible, or as you fancy. The other thing that you could do, that I quite often do with magazines, is if I don't want to draw something myself, I can stencil over it. So you could get your stencils out and sort of stencil a pattern into his lapel if you wanted to, whatever works for you. But paint pens and drawing lines is fairly easy to do, so I don't mind how the end result turned out. Once I finish that, I'm just sharpening up the edges again using my black pen just to make sure it really pops. And then I decided I wanted to put some sort of words or quote on my page too, but I had to sort of think about what I wanted to put on it. I hadn't drawn around his face at this stage, but I decided that I did actually want to put a little bit more detail into that around his head. I drew in his eyes a little bit, which makes them look a little bit creepy, but it does actually make their eyes pop out. And I put a little bit of white detail around the lapel as well, just so it sort of stood out a little bit. So playing with your black and white pen is often really handy when you get to the end points of your journal pages, because that helps to balance everything out and make sure that everything ties in together, I suppose. So I found this sentiment stamp from Dina Wakley. It said "You matter," which I thought was quite relevant to this page. I've got a feeling I probably did this in June as well, which is Pride Month, so I think we'd had some Pride stuff at school, so that it was obviously on my mind as well. So I created this as a sample to take into the art group I do at school with my students, and I thought that would be relevant for them. So here I am at the end of my page, and you can see in the close-up how all that extra pen work around his body and the clothing helps pop it out from the page. You can sort of see how those pen lines have helped blend the rest of the background of the photo in. So a really super simple page to do. Play around with any of the old photos or new photos that you've got. It's just a great way to get in your journal and do something really simple but really colourful. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.